Hello everyone and welcome to our math lesson 8 in chapter 10. And as you can see, we're on compare fractions and it's page 613 in your workbook. So make sure you have a pencil and your book is open to page 613 before you continue this video. So if you need to, pause the video to get everything you need and let's come on to our lesson. So compare fractions. You can compare fractions when the two fractions refer to the same size whole. So when we think about fractions and comparing fractions, we understand that we're comparing the size of an item. So when we think of, like, let's say two pizzas, and these two pizzas have been eaten, let's say that I had two pizzas and each one had different slices left. So we see this one has two slices left and this one has one slice left. Which pizza has more? So when we compare, we're saying that this one has more or this one has less than this one. So we have this one has more than this one or this one has less than this one. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about comparing fractions. So let's go on to the examples. Math in my world. So example 1 says AJ has 3/6 of his homework done. So he has 3/6 of his homework done and Yuki finished 4/6 of hers. Who has finished a greater part? Who finished more of their homework? So we look at the fractions and we can do this by using fraction tiles. So we've been learning how to draw a rectangle to represent a fraction. So we have 3/6. So we know that we have to break the bar into our fraction bar into tiles. And we cut it 5 times to make 6 parts because our denominator has 6 total parts. Our numerator shows that we want to shade 3 of those 6 parts. So we have 3 1/6 shaded in, which shows 3/6. The next one, we have a rectangle, and that rectangle again is cut into 5 times to make 6 parts, 6 tiles, and then we shaded 4 of the 6 tiles to show 4/6. So AJ has 3/6 and Yuki finished 4/6. The models show that 4/6, and you can see 4/6 comes all the way to here, and 3/6 comes all the way to here. So we can see that more space is taken up by 4/6 than 3/6. So 4/6 is bigger or greater than 3/6. So 4/6 is greater than 3/6. Another way to look at these is to use a number line. So we can draw a number line to represent a fraction. So we can represent the fraction by starting off with 0. 0 would be no parts, and 1 whole would be all the parts. So remember, when we had 6 as a denominator, if we had a 6 as a numerator, this would equal all parts, or 1 whole. So in this case, we mark out 3/6 and 4/6. So we want to make sure that we have 5 lines between. So we mark our number line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 6th part, or 6/6, would be at the 1. So that's why we mark it 5 times, just like this one. If we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts, that makes 6 parts. The 6th one would be all the way at the whole thing. So that would be all of it. So here we have 4/6 is closer to the 1, which means that 4/6 is greater than 3/6 because 4/6 is on the right-hand side and it's bigger. So 4/6 is greater than 3/6. So Yuki finished a greater part of her homework. All right, let's move on to page 614. Page 614. Starts off with example number 2. Example 2, Camille and Peter. Camille and Peter were reading a book. Camille read 1/4 of the book. Peter read 1/3 of the same book. Who read the greater part of the book? Now here you have to be really careful because the denominators are different. And since the denominators are different, the size of each piece is different. So Camille has 1/4, so we can either draw a box, a bar, and cut it 3 times to make fourths, and then show one of those fourths. Or we can draw a number line and cut the number line 3 times in between the 0 and 1 to show fourths, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. And we're going to put our bubble at 1/4. Here for Peter, we draw the same size bar as we did for the fourths, but we're only cutting it twice. And then we're going to shade it in one of those thirds. If you're doing a number line, you cut the number line twice, just like you do the bar, and you have 1/3, 2/3, and 1 would be 3/3. So now we're bubbling at 1/3. So now the larger denominator of 4 means more but smaller parts. So there's more parts, but each part is smaller because it's the same size bar, but we've cut it into 4 pieces versus cutting it into 3 pieces. So same thing with a pizza. If you cut the pizza only into fourths, then all the pieces are much larger than if you cut a pizza into eighths. So when we have pizza cut with 8 slices, you get a smaller slice than if you cut in fourths. So here, 4 is bigger than 3, but that means that there's more parts and they're smaller. So the smaller denominator means fewer parts, but larger parts. So 1/3 is closer to 1/2. You can see that 1/3 is further along than 1/4. 1/3 is bigger. So 1/3 is greater than 1/4, or 1/3 is greater than 1/4. So come on down, and we are now looking at who read the most. So who read the greater part of the book? So Peter is 1/3, which means that Peter read the most. Peter, and I capitalize Peter because it's a proper noun. So Peter read the greater part of the book. And let's move on down to our guided practice. Our guided practice today is looking at the models comparing using greater than, less than, or equal to. So 1/3 versus 2/3, which is larger. So 1/3 is less than 2/3 because 2/3 goes further or takes up more space in the fraction bar. So we have 2/3 is greater than 1/3. We can also see that because the 1 is smaller than the 2 and the denominators are the same. Now you can't really look at the numerators if the denominators are not the same. Then you have to show a model to see which one is bigger. In this case, since the denominators are the same, the parts are the same size. They're all thirds. So 2/3 is bigger than 1/3. Moving forward, we're going to go into the independent practice. So let's take a look. So we're going to page 615. If you need any of the notes from before, make sure you pause the video. Okay, so here you're going to be working on numbers 2 through 8. And then when you're finished with 2 through 8, come back to this video to check your work. And then after we're done that, we're going to work on numbers 9 through 13, and then the homework. So right now we're going to look at numbers 2 through 8. Pause the video and work on these independently. So right now you should only be watching this video if you've already completed numbers 2 through 8. And now you're checking your work. So we're going to use the models to represent the comparison between 1/4 and 1/6. So 1/4, they've made a number line and they show 1/4 is here. For 6, the parts are a lot smaller. And 1/6, we could see, is before 1/4. So 1/6 is smaller and 1/4 is bigger. So 1/4 is greater than 1/6. Next, they have 7/8 versus 6/8. We see that the denominator is the same, so that means the parts are the same size. So 7 parts versus 6 parts. And 7 of the same size parts is bigger or greater than 6 parts. Here the parts are not the same size, so we have to look at this picture. We see 1/4, 2/4, 2/4, and 1/8. There's 4 of them, so 4/8. And we can see that they are the same size. So 2/4 is equal to 4/8. Next we have 1/8 4 times and 1/6 4 times. So 4/8 versus 4/6. And we see that 4/6 is further along or bigger. So 4/6. So 4/8 is less than 4/6. Next, number 6. We're going to use the number line for exercises 6 through 8. Circle all the fractions on the number line that are greater than 5/8. So greater than 5/8 would be more than 5/8. So we look at 6/8, 7/8, and trick here, 8/8 or 1/2. It could still be a fraction. 8/8 would represent the 1. So we can circle 1 as well. Draw a box around all the fractions in the number line that are less than 3/8. So we look at 3/8 and we go smaller. 2/8 is smaller, 1/8 is smaller, and 0/8 is smaller. Write the fraction from the number line that is greater than 3/8 but less than 5/8. So greater than 3/8 would be this way, and less than 5/8 would be this way. So this is the one we're looking for, which was 4/8. I hope that you got all these right, and if you didn't, I hope that my explanation was helpful to you. So now we're going to move on to number 9. Number 9 says, Alistair makes a party mix with 1/3 cup of raisins and 2/3 cups of cereal. Are there more raisins or cereal? Explain. So we see that they have the same denominator. And since they have the same denominator, they have the same size parts. And since they have the same size parts, then we can determine which one has more of those same size parts. So I'm drawing 2 fractions, the bars, and I'm going to label them. You see I broke them into thirds by cutting them twice, and we have 1/3 versus 2/3. So we have 1/3 versus 2/3. And 2/3 takes up more space, so 2/3 is greater than. So 1/3 is less than 2/3. So are there more raisins or cereal? 2/3 is cereal. So there is more cereal. And we can look at our pictures to show what we've found. So our pictures help us explain our answers. So make sure you have your pictures drawn next to it or even underneath in this box. Debbie realized that more than 4/8 of her summer vacation has passed. Circle a fraction that is greater than 4/8. So we can see that these all have denominators of 8. So we're just looking for a numerator that is greater than 4. So which numerator was greater than 4? It was 5/8. So hopefully you got that correct. Moving down to number 11. Number 11 says, let's justify. Is 1/4 of the smaller waffle equal to 1/4 of the larger waffle? So start by shading one of the fourths. So you can see they're cut into fourths, and we're going to shade 1/4. Now, is the 1/4 of the smaller waffle the same size as the smaller waffle or the bigger waffle? So when we look at that, is this shape the same size as this shape? We could argue that they are the same shape, but are they the same size? So are they equal? No. The bigger waffle has a bigger part. Next, if you are comparing the fractions 4/8 and 3/8, how can you tell which fraction is greater without using models? So, since they have the same denominator, the denominator is the same, so we compare the numerator. And if we look at that way, we say 4/8 is greater than 3/8 because 4 is bigger than 3. And then how can fractions be compared? How can fractions be compared? What can you do to compare fractions? So you can draw fraction bars or number lines. And that brings you to your homework, so make sure that you've checked on your Google Classroom to see what homework you have for tonight. For my class, we've done the odd problem, so we would do numbers 1, 3, 5, and 7. 1, 3, 5, and 7. And that means that you're finished with your math for today. So if you have any questions, make sure you're reaching out to your teacher. Have a great day. Bye.